Kia ora koutou, back again. SDG 10, reducing inequality. We know that inequality is found across wider society and is widely debated, but also, of course, it's found at work in workplaces. It takes at least two main forms. Vertical inequality is when you have an unequal treatment between the top and bottom tiers of an organisation. So, for example, between the shop floor and the CEO class in the way they're treated at work, there can be huge differences, for example, in their remuneration and salaries. I'll talk about that in a second video. For this one, I want to focus on the second kind of inequality, which is horizontal inequality. And that's found between peers, actually, in an organisation, people who are very equal to one another in terms of training, experience, qualifications, and so on, but they're treated very differently. They're rewarded very differently. The prime example, I've been involved in my own career, and I've worked in this topic with lots and lots of other people who are too numerous to name today, but they've made bigger contributions than I, would be around dual salaries. Now, dual salaries dual salary system is paid to people who come from different parts of the world, who come together to work on an international project of any kind. It can be a business project, an educational project, a health project, an NGO project, an aid project of any kind. And because they come from different economies, so the international workers often, not always, but often come from a richer economy, they're paid in terms that match their home economy, whilst those from the local economy, which is often lower income, but not always again, are paid on a much lower salary, reflecting the average salary in their society. Now, from a sort of a labour market perspective, that may have some sort of rationale, but from a human perspective, in everyday life, at the coalface, in the workplace, as you can imagine, it can cause huge problems. People doing the same job with similar levels of qualifications and experience can be paid 5 to 10 or even more times less or more than one another. Imagine yourself in that kind of situation. Dual salaries are found all over the world. They started in colonial and pre-colonial days, and when I was working in Malawi 30 years ago, I witnessed this system in operation and saw how destructive it could be really to teamwork and cooperation, which was supposed to be the essence of the international work. Unfortunately, it's still in place today, although it is now being severely challenged, I think, and tested by the SDGs and SDG 10 in particular, which includes horizontal as well as vertical inequality. I was involved in a fairly well-known project, I think, Project Add Up, and I was only one of many people who worked in this project, too numerous to name. Our development discrepancies undermining performance, and this project was the first, I think, in a systematic approach to this topic and issue. It involved 6 countries, over 1,300 professional people. It was multidisciplinary. It spanned multiple years, 3 years, and it involved multiple methods, so critical incidence analysis of how these salaries impact everyday work life. That was used then to design a survey that was given out to over 1,300 professionals from all different parts of the world and straddling 6 different countries. And it really focused, and the final phase of the project in year 3 was a workshop where the data was taken back through in-country workshops and to policymakers and so on, nationally and internationally. And because pay is such a taboo topic, it involves a lot of power dynamics. This research, I think, opened up a can of worms and got people talking about the issue of dual salaries based on actual evidence. And as you may have guessed, this kind of evidence was showing that people very often on the lower end of the spectrum found it very unfair and demotivating. It fueled intentions to leave and intentions to leave the country, which of course increased demand on international workers even more, and kind of potentially set up a demotivating vicious circle and undermining capacity building in a whole range of different settings. This study has, since it was initially conducted, it has led to a range of partnerships across research networks and policymakers, for example, in the NGO, non-government sector. And today there are a lot of partnerships working around how to make the salary system much fairer. Project FAIR, which stands for Fairness and Aid Remuneration, is a project that's being conducted in conjunction with the CHS Alliance, which is the core humanitarian standard alliance in the NGO civil society sector. Ishbel Macquarie Herman has been a leading figure in that space from HWP. And that's an example of how Humanitarian work psychology can be applied to SDG 10 and is changing salary systems so that that gap, as the workshops in ADUP told us, is being closed as it needs to be. Thank you. Kia ora koutou.